Let's break down what we know so far about the Air India tragedy, based on the preliminary investigation report released in July 2025. This is one of the deadliest aviation disasters in a decade, and while we're only at the start of the investigation, the initial findings are both surprising and deeply troubling. Here's what happened. Air India Flight 171 took off smoothly, until just moments after liftoff, something went catastrophically wrong. At around 180 knots, flight data shows both engines suddenly lost power. Why? Because the fuel control switches, basically the on-off valves for the engines, were both flipped from run to cutoff, just 1 second apart. Now, this isn't something that should ever happen by accident. The cockpit voice recorder picked up one pilot asking, "Why did you cut off the fuel?" and the other pilot immediately saying he didn't do it. Either way, the result was immediate. Both engines flamed out. The crew quickly moved the switches back to run. One engine even managed to briefly restart, but there just wasn't enough time or altitude left to recover. With both engines out, the aircraft's ram air turbine, or RAT, automatically deployed. This is basically a small windmill that pops out to provide emergency power for hydraulics and electronics. The pilots issued a mayday, but in less than 30 seconds, the plane had lost all lift and crashed from about 650 feet above the ground. Here's what's weird. Investigators haven't found any sign of mechanical problems with the aircraft. No pre-existing faults, no emergency that would have required shutting down the engines. The plane was only about 11 years old, had just passed inspection and was operating normally. So what caused both switches to flip almost simultaneously? Experts say it's extremely unlikely to be accidental. Investigators are now combing through possible scenarios, pilot error, intentional action, or some bizarre technical glitch. But as of now, there's no clear answer. The investigation is being led by India's AAIB, with help from international partners like the US NTSB, the UK AAIB, Boeing, and GE. They've already recovered the black boxes and analyzed the data, but the question of why this happened is still unsolved, and that final answer could take months. To sum up, the engines lost power because their fuel was cut off mid-climb. The reason why those switches were moved is still a mystery. For now, we know what happened, but not why. I'll be following this story and sharing updates as the investigation continues.